Space, the final frontier.
Space, the final frontier.
That is much better, Jim, than what I
These
can ever
are the Voyager.
That's pretty good, actually. So we're going to be talking a little bit about NASA today. Pretty excited about that. I was just recently at the Space Symposium, and our in-studio guest, Mr. Brian Reinbold, will be talking about NASA as well.
From the land of Lincoln.
Yeah, land of Lincoln. We'll also be talking about the new ruling at the Traffic Safety Administration and what that means for autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty interesting as well. And I'm sure we'll get into all kinds of other things since we have the Reinbold in the house. So at the control panel, Mr. Producer Extraordinaire, Jim Walsh.
You know who we haven't heard from in a while is a geezer. Where is the geezer?
He has been kind of absent, hasn't he?
He's been. I see him up and down the halls periodically.
Let's see if we can grab him and put him in here a little bit later.
Yeah, a little bit later.
It'll be fun to talk to him
Yeah.
about the space program, actually.
Yeah.
He might have some interesting insights to that. So, yeah.
Did he know the Wright brothers?
He may have.
I think he did.
He was around. He talks about the 1800s all the time.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking he probably was there for the first flight, as a matter of fact. So,
Yeah.
And, of course, we have Mr. Brian Reinbold from the land of Lincoln.
Hello, everyone.
So, yeah,
Hello.
welcome to the show again.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yeah, you came
In
home
person
for-
this time.
In person, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually see him on Blab. But,
Right.
Yeah.
he's
Well,
here
not,
today.
not only that, I'm not sure Marlo knows this, but there's a 6-pack of Giordano's on their way to his place.
Woohoo! More pizza. That's exactly what I need.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Well, thanks, Brian.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about that now. So, yeah.
Is that a Chicago thing?
That is, yeah. That's
It is.
Chicago
a
thing.
Yeah,
deep
what?
dish.
So we discovered this pizza joint. I don't know. Well, in fact, it's the original deep dish pizza.
Okay.
I mean, the absolutely original of the originals. Everybody claims
Yeah.
that original, but they are the original. And they have what, 4 or 5, 6 joints in the Bismarck or in the Chicago area.
No, I'm not sure how many. There's quite a few.
There's quite a few, yeah. And you go there, Jim, and they actually have on their menu, if you order one of these pizzas, you're there for an hour just to wait
Right.
for the pizza.
Yeah.
Because it's just that thick and it takes a long time for it to bake or whatever. So they have a thing where you can actually order them and they ship them to you frozen.
Very good.
And
I
then
like it.
I think they're half cooked, half baked. Half
That sounds about right for us.
for us, we are half baked. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, and then they come in and you kind of finish them off in the
Yep.
oven here, and they're absolutely delicious. So,
Yeah.
wow.
We kind of think of that as a separate kind of food.
Yes.
You know, it's
Its own food group.
yeah, it's its own food group. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it does take 40 minutes to make one.
So yeah,
you
cool
gotta
stuff.
make an event out of it.
So when's this stuff showing up?
That should be Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody who's listening to us, we're not having pizza on Wednesday.
No.
Thursday.
Show up on Thursday or Friday,
Thursday, yeah.
and hopefully it'll be there. I'm just kidding, by the way. Boy,
Well-
6 people or 6 pizzas, that should feed all of Mandan almost. Have you ever had one of these, Jim?
No,
Oh.
not a Chicago deep dish.
You have to slice them pretty thin. I mean, as far as, instead of doing
yeah.
like 8 slices on a pizza
wedge,
pie.
yeah.
Well, I've had
wedges,
deep
yeah.
dish pizza before.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
not from Chicago.
If you were to have one regular size slice of this,
Yeah.
you would not finish it. It is.
Oh.
Oh yeah. I mean, so you gotta do many slices or many
Yeah.
wedges, I guess. And if you want to try a couple different flavors, because it's very, very filling.
Now, is this
So,
pizza or is it more like an actual pie where they take everything and they kind of bake it in there like
I would
a pie?
call it a pie.
Yeah, it's
You would
more
call
like
It's
it a
all
pie,
inside. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I've had that before when I was. I spent some time in New York, and there's a couple of deep dish places there where they actually make a pizza. Literally, it's a pie.
Right.
There's nothing flat about it. I mean, they take all the tomatoes and everything and just bake it right in like a quiche or something.
We want to welcome everybody to the Food Network today.
I'll be sharing some recipes
Yeah.
for Greek chicken this afternoon.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. What was that Saturday Night Live skit all the time when they had the 2 gals from Prairie Public that were so nonchalant, and they could have the biggest news in the world going on in front of them, and they were just like, "Yeah, that's amazing." They were anyway, I'll have to look that up.
That's kind of like
Alec Baldwin was always on there.
Oh,
too,
the
so-
missiles are cresting the poles at this
Yeah.
particular moment. And,
Well, we were doing a little of the, well, I could
Anyway,
kinda ramble off on squirrel hunts all day here. So.
Squirrel hunts, yeah.
Squirrel. Let's go to technology, shall we?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so the Traffic Administration, Safety Administration, has just ruled that they're replacing the word human with driver. So basically, what this means, everybody, is that you won't have to have a human controlling your car anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So does that mean monkey, raccoon?
Neanderthal.
So yeah, I'm guessing that as long as the vehicle can pass the road test, that it doesn't matter who's driving anymore. And the reason that this is important actually is because of the autonomous vehicle thing.
Right.
So basically software can take the place of us moving forward. As long as it can pass the road test, doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting.
HAL 9000 is going to be your driver.
It is interesting. I will say that. And to this point, and I don't know when this regulation or when this policy, I should say, will take effect.
Is this national?
It's the national.
It is national.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it does. And what's interesting about this too is that the current administration, as we've talked about on the show before, has put aside $4 billion over the next decade to actually pursue the advancement of autonomous vehicles as well. So they're starting to kind of slowly come around. Although I guess I wouldn't call it slowly. Actually, it's been kind of on a fast pace in the last year or so to get this technology moving a little bit. So very, very interesting, I think.
It is
So-
the idea that we're going to be driving down the freeway or the tollway, and the vehicle next to us will be apparently unoccupied.
Yeah. You never know. Delivering those pizzas that Brian orders and sends to me.
Well, the guy would be over there
Occasionally.
reading a magazine and just not even looking at the road.
Yeah, that's
Or the-
exactly.
do they have
exactly
the
what it will be.
Tesla cabs in Dubai or something like that?
Yeah,
Right.
this is actually going on right now. It's nothing new, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit, everybody. So after the break, Brian, Jim, and I will continue the conversation on the new ruling with the Traffic Safety Administration, as well as space, the final frontier. So come on back.
Right now, 57.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Just packed my bags. Last night, pre-flight. 0 hour. 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high. As a kite by then.
This
You-
is Shatner's Rocket Man, right?
Yeah, you also have to hear Nimoy. He did an album
Right.
where he did songs like Proud Mary, and he did the Hobbit song about Bilbo.
Right.
But his version of Proud Mary is a hoot and a holler.
That's just funny.
Big wheel, keep on turning. He actually does that. Yeah, it's funny.
He's actually performing this clip that you have here. He's got an audience.
Yeah,
Times.
it's from the 70s. I don't know if that's really his hair or not.
I'm not sure.
Smoking a cigarette.
It's gonna be a long, long time to touchdown.
Anyway.
I think smoking in space is a long way off.
Yeah.
It might be, yes. Yeah.
Well, in the original Star Trek, they had a big fight. Roddenberry did with the sponsors because they wanted, they had a cigarette company wanted to sponsor the show under the condition that everybody on the Enterprise smoked.
Really?
Yeah, and Roddenberry said, no, we're not going to do that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'd be all walking around with
Yeah,
cigarettes.
yeah. That would not be a timeless classic nowadays. As
You can imagine Spock taking a drag.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
It's illogical, Jim. It's so illogical.
We had the pleasure of listening to him a couple of years ago. I never told you about this or not, but
I don't know.
He had some fantastic stories that he told about our area up here.
Nimoy?
North Dakota, Montana. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And it would take too long to get into that now, but someday we'll have to maybe visit about.
Have a special Nimoy show.
We should do that, actually. That would be interesting. So anyway, we're talking about space, the final frontier. And, a lot of things are changing, of course. And we have, I'm trying to get through my notes here pretty quick. I was just at the Space Symposium not too long ago, a couple weeks ago.
I saw that, yeah.
Visited with a couple of astronauts, and it was fun visiting with them. The things that are changing are amazing, actually, in the space industry. You're finding more and more private companies emerging.
Yeah.
You can get a payload to space for a lot less money than you could before. I visited with a gentleman who's actually using a combination of balloons, hot air balloons, to get you up to about 30,000 feet. And then he kind of uses a slingshot process to sling your small drone. I call them drones in space, but get your small drone into an orbit around space. And he can do that. They figure they'll be able to do that for about $10,000.
Yeah.
Right now it costs about $5 to $10 million, which is cheap compared to what it used to cost, which was $100 million plus.
What happened with the guy? Remember the guy from Virgin Airlines? He was supposed to launch his own private space shuttle service.
I'm not sure where that's at. You're talking about Richard Branson, yes.
Right.
Yep. And I'm not sure where that's at. He was actually, they had a presence at the Space Symposium.
Yeah.
So they're obviously still working towards that. Of course, Elon Musk with SpaceX.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are probably the most prominent right now. They're doing a lot of work getting stuff into space. They just landed, did you see this the other day? The booster rocket actually landed on a barge in the ocean.
Wow.
So instead of basically discarding this stuff now, they can reuse it now.
Yeah.
So they actually successfully grabbed the booster rocket on a barge that just landed right on it, and pretty amazing.
Well, the balloon launch idea seems remarkable, and I'm just reminded of the way that they would launch the Bell X-1, the first supersonic aircraft. And they'd take it up and it'd be in the belly of,
that's right.
The belly of
with,
a plane.
what's his name? Yeager.
Yeager.
Yeah.
Well, go rent the movie The Right Stuff.
That's right, yeah. Got any Beemans?
Yeah. Hey, Hooch, got any Beemans?
Didn't they actually, when they were testing the space shuttle too, didn't they strap that on top of a 747?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they'd return it because they'd landed at a different place that they'd launch it from.
That's right.
If they'd land, depending on the weather was a factor.
Okay.
And they would land it if say they had to land in California and they wanted to get it back to Florida, obviously for the next launch, and they would attach it to a big old jet airliner. Thank you, Steve Miller.
Yeah.
Fly it back. I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And I think they tested, didn't they, go up and then actually let go of a space shuttle or two and then just let them glide back to Earth to test the landing procedure before they actually deployed them into space?
That sounds plausible.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about if glide is the right term.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I think that's kind of how it worked, yeah. So anyway.
And a couple of years ago, they had the one they towed through Los Angeles. Remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah, a friend of mine who lives out there told me about it.
Really?
She said she and her husband went out and stood on the sidewalk and watched the space shuttle go by.
That would have been cool as beans.
Oh, yeah.
So that sounds like something to do in L.A.
Exactly.
LA, man.
That's exactly right. So drones in space. So there's a couple companies that are deploying quite a few basically breadbox size satellites, which is why I call them drones in space. And this one company has about 138 of them that they've put up there now. And they actually, in a given day, will take a photo of the Earth, where it used to take many days, if not weeks, just to get a satellite in place to take a single shot. Now, in a single day, we shoot the entire world.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. And the telemetry that comes back is absolutely amazing, too. And frankly, somewhat scary because they actually can take photographs to 0.3 meter, which means that if I'm standing a foot away from it's the exact thing as if I'm standing a foot away from something, and that's what you see.
They can look right down at me and see how much hair I've lost.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's only getting better and better and better all the time. So if you're a farmer, rancher that wants to take a photo of a field, you can pay these people to actually do that. And it's actually relatively inexpensive. They charge about $0.25 an acre So if you have 400 acres and you want to take a photo of it, it's going to cost you $100. That's really not that terrible.
A few years ago, there was a magazine, Reason Magazine. They do a lot of, it's a political magazine, but they do a lot of stuff about technology. And they had an issue where everybody who subscribed to the magazine got their own cover picture of their house. It was amazing how they pulled this off. Every individual copy was different because everybody, and I got a satellite photograph of my house where I lived as a cover of the magazine this one particular month.
Really?
Yeah, and it was Bismarck, and I was looking down on the apartment. I used to live over on Capitol Street, the apartment development over there when I first hit town on the north end of the city, and sure enough, I looked at it. Yeah, I could trace out the route. It was actually Bismarck.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
This was about 10 years ago, right after I first moved to town.
Okay, interesting. It's amazing how things have changed so much even
just to show you that it can be done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's 10 years ago.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it just has gotten so much better. It really has. Whether it's, scary or not, I don't know. I mean, I'm always about the privacy concerns of people as well.
Oh yeah,
whether it's drones or not.
Yeah, 1984, man.
Yeah. But I think most people are okay with most of it. As long as
I think
not
so.
Peering into your house.
I think we all understand it's a tool that can be used for good or ill ends.
Right. But generally speaking, I mean, you could take anything and the banner behind you, Jim. I mean, I could take that says Super Talk 1270 right now and figure out something. It's got metal rivets in it. I mean, there's something I could force you to choke on one of those metal rivets or whatever. I mean, there's always something. Whether it's designed for good, that can be used for bad.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how you look at it.
It's like a knife. You can take a knife, you can kill a man with a knife, you can make a peanut butter sandwich with it.
I look at like even autonomous vehicles and drones. We get this argument all the time that somebody is going to take over one of these and fly them into a crowd of people, or you're going to drive it into a building. Oh, yeah. You can do that now. What's to stop you from driving a truckload of fertilizer into a building?
Oklahoma City.
Absolutely nothing.
Oklahoma City.
So, it's just a matter of, I'm just using that as an example.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're not making a joke here.
No,
Please don't think we're
not
trying
to
make a joke. I mean, it's not a joke.
The thing is that it just depends. It's just a different delivery method.
Yeah.
So. One of the things we get into in our perspective power work is the idea that your fear is the greatest problem that we have to overcome in accomplishing just about anything.
I can actually believe that. I never thought about that before, but you're right. People are fearful of the advances that are going on, and probably rightfully so. People are, like myself, are cautiously optimistic about it.
Yeah.
But you run into these situations occasionally that set you back a little bit.
Just as an example, and this came up recently, we were talking about the idea that I'll make a joke about technology. People say, "Well, what do you think of technology?" And I'll say, "I love it when it works."
Yeah.
And we get all upset and ticked off when something doesn't work.
Right.
Sure.
But you realize how often things work, and it's almost all the time.
Yeah.
Well, Louis C.K., the comedian, did a whole bit about that where he said, you're sitting on an airplane. Now, think about this. You're sitting in a big hunk of metal, a big metal tube, and you're traveling across the country in a matter of hours, something your ancestors could not even conceive of doing. And you're complaining because you can't get a decent signal on your smartphone.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So everything's relative.
Right.
So after the break, everybody, we will continue this fascinating discussion. I don't know where it's going to go, though. So
what wasn't possible 30 minutes ago is now an entitlement.
That's exactly.
Right now, 57.
Super Talk 1270, home of the Bismarck Bobcats and high school sports. Listen online or anywhere on the Radio Pup app. Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Oh, there it is.
Are we back?
Yeah, I had something lined up here. A little slow in the uptake, but aren't we all on the Monday, right?
Yes, especially today. Oh, we're going to...
As promised.
Leonard Nimoy.
I left a good job in the city.
Leonard Nimoy.
Working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleeping.
You know,
he could do Rocket Man and sound right.
Yeah.
Might have been big wheel, keep on.
He's not actually that terrible, is he? Or is it
Well,
just the
better than
mentally
Shatner.
Yeah, that's right, compared to Shatner.
I mean, I know that's setting the bar kind of low, but anyway. Oh, by the way, the geezer is here. He wanted to tell you the story. He was involved with the first ever effort to take a satellite photograph of the entire United States.
Well, let's bring him in. Let's see what he's got to say about it.
Yeah, it didn't work out. Somebody moved.
Or maybe smiled.
Yeah.
Maybe smiled, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think wasn't it against the law, geezer, in the 1800s to smile when you were taking a photograph?
It sure seems like it. Well, it was the dentistry or lack thereof.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what it was. You know, you smiled, it's like, ugh. Oh, man.
That's funny.
Is that spinach?
Well, anyway, we were talking a little bit about space today. Now, Mr. Reinbold, by the way, Brian, founder of Perspective Power, and we can find you where, Brian?
Perspective-power.com.
Okay, very good. And you've actually been invited to NASA.
That's right.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you're familiar, of course, with our Brave Hearts for Kids organization, right. And your Zuvio and Awesome 2 has been a major sponsor of Brave Hearts for Kids. Well, Brave Hearts was founded by Jeremy and Amy Jacobs from Houston.
Okay.
And Jeremy's dad used to refer to him as my son, the rocket scientist.
Ah.
And I thought, that's just the way we talk about
my
our kids.
son, the big deal rocket scientist.
That's right. My son's a Michelangelo. You've met Matt. He's like a Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Right. But it turns out that Jeremy's actually a rocket scientist.
He's a very nice boy.
He's one of the top guys down at NASA in Houston. And when their daughter was 13 months old, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Oh no,
medulloblastoma, and so the doctors they were dealing with were the brain surgeons at the Texas Children's Hospital, and they got Ava into a program. She was the first child treated there at the Texas Children's Hospital with something called directed proton radiation therapy, which was developed just down the road from our place in Chicago.
Well, again, we talk about nuclear power for good or for destructive or for saving lives.
Absolutely, yeah. And so so we work with with Brave Hearts for Kids. We work with rocket scientists and brain surgeons and nuclear physicists and radio personalities. So we
one
really
of these things is definitely not like the other.
Part of that, it sounds like one of those standardized tests, which does not fit.
Yeah.
I think it's the nuclear physics.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Jeremy has invited us to come to NASA.
Wonderful.
And take a tour of the.
Now, is this Florida or Texas?
In Texas.
In Houston.
Mission control and astronaut training. And of course, the first question that I had for him would be, do they still have that G-force machine? Can you go for a ride?
When they strapped the Mercury guys in, whipped them around.
Yeah, we have a lot of the right stuff references here.
Yeah, the chimpanzees.
Yeah.
You want to take a ride in one of those?
I want to.
Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And when you run some of those, pass out,
Yeah, and some of those roller coasters they haven't built.
Yeah, I'd love to do the zero-G plane ride. Where they.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the G-force thing though. I'd probably get to about 0.2 G and I'd be done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have a drug. They give you a pill
you're
you're supposed to take so you won't get airsick.
Oh.
So you won't, lose your cookies in mid-flight.
But the zero-G thing, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that actually, what do they go up to 50,000 feet or whatever, and then you're just in a free fall in the plane?
It kind of goes in like a curve, like a bell curve, I think, or like a reverse bell curve. They kind of dip down, and then they kind of trough at the bottom and go back up again. And somewhere within that bell curve, technically, you're weightless because of the inertia, I guess.
So how long are you weightless for?
Oh, I don't know, about a minute, I think.
Okay, well that's not too bad.
Under a minute.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I've never done it. I've read about it.
Sure, that'd be pretty cool.
You know, that sounds like a heck of an idea for winning one of those weight loss contests. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Get on the scale at just the right moment.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's like this
using technology.
Well, I had a friend that I visiting with at beginning of the year, and he was eating everything in sight. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm going on a weight loss plan at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
and I'm going to lose 3 pounds a week." I said, "Well, why are you eating so much now?" He said, "I only weigh 140 now."
Okay.
Have to bulk up for the weight loss.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be 156
that's
pounds
right.
in a year.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the proton radiation therapy.
Well, the proton radiation therapy is something that was developed at Fermi Labs, which is in the Chicagoland area.
Right, Enrico Fermi's adopted hometown.
Yep. And a great big particle accelerator that they have there, and so the proton radiation technology, what it does is it targets radiation in 3 dimensions, so that when, for example, with the little girl, her cancer was wrapped around her brainstem, and the original diagnosis said that because treating that would result in brain damage and make her unable to walk or talk or something like that if she survived. And because of the directing the radiation in 3 dimensions, they were able to take that cancer out without damaging her brain. And now she's a 4th grader, an honor student, soccer star, musician.
Wonderful.
You know, just a completely thriving child. And that's the goal of the Brave Hearts for Kids organization, is really to make that happen for every family, and to take the stories like that are successful and compile them and get them out to the families that are going through it now.
So this technology is available to anyone. They just have to get to the medical facilities that offer.
there are I believe there are 12 of the proton therapy units in the country.
Okay.
And one of them is near where we live in Chicago. It's a place called Warrenville, the Central DuPage Hospital, or CDH Proton Center.
Okay.
And so they've recently built a Ronald McDonald House nearby that, and because it is a therapy that goes on for weeks.
I wonder if Mayo has that. You would think they would.
You know, I don't know about Mayo. I was thinking that a couple of years ago, anyway. I don't think that they were one of the places that had it. The first one, I think, was Lawrence in California.
Well, if there's a dozen of them, I'm sure I would assume
they're
kind of
probably
scattered out fairly evenly.
But what are they? $285 million machine. You know.
Yeah. Right. So is this treatment just for children, or is it for the population?
No, it's for in fact, I hear ads on the radio for the treatment for prostate cancer.
Okay.
So it's apparently effective in certain types of cancer more than others.
I see.
And just the research and the technology that is going into cancer treatment is
Can we
really
assume
remarkable.
It's not invasive? Will this take the place of surgery in some cases?
You know, I suppose the answer to that would be yes, because
I mean, I know you're not a doctor.
Yeah, right.
You play one on television.
Yeah. Of course, they did a Holiday Inn Express last night, right?
Yeah.
So there is a move afoot. I'm sure, speaking of space, the final frontier, one of the things in Star Trek was the use of nanos or nanites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually
little tiny guys.
Yeah, little tiny guys, little tiny computers. And that is actually starting to become a reality. Have you been following this?
I follow some of that, yeah.
So they are injecting nanos or nanites, I guess you could say. I suppose that's the plural of one nano. And injecting these into your bloodstream. Yeah, exactly. And what happens is they're trained to go and find cancerous cells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when they find them, they latch onto them. And then it's like a microwave device that they put on the outside of your body. And they heat up these nanites to a certain temperature. And I think it's 138 degrees. But it's just warm enough or hot enough that it kills the cancer cells.
Yeah, little tiny, teeny-weeny computer chip things, right?
Yeah, that's
and
all
you
there
can
is.
program them to go in there and basically go get the cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, yeah. And now they're starting to, work on artery repair and all this other stuff. And it's,
it's
what
amazing.
we think is amazing
It's
now
really amazing.
is going to really be amazing 10 or 15 years
I would
from
think
now.
like heart repair, they could repair like after a heart attack.
Yeah,
You go
exactly.
and do
Well, consider that the 1906 Nobel Prize was for something that was revolutionary at the time called germ theory.
Yeah. And remember the lobotomy. The guy who invented the lobotomy got a Nobel Prize.
Really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Amazing.
All right, everybody, after the break, we will continue our discussion on the advances in medicine, obviously. So come on back.
His head sure rings a bell.
Right now, 59.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Here he is again.
All right.
Old Tribblehead.
So what's he going to perform for us this time?
Mr. Tambourine Man.
All right.
Mr. Tambourine Man.
As we all wait anxiously for Shatner to...
Mr. Tambourine Man. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man.
Well, we're having a little fun on
Yeah.
on Star Trek.
As
Suspense
radio
today,
goes, you get about 15 seconds of this. Somebody just tunes in for the first time. They might get the wrong idea.
They might have the wrong idea, yeah.
Going, what is going on here?
Flying high.
Do we have an idea?
We have an idea, yes, yeah. And I want to thank everybody who follows the show. Maybe after today they won't be following us so much anymore.
How do you
but
follow the show?
You can follow us on Blueberry.
On
the Blueberry Network. You can follow us on the Tech Podcast Network. We're on the Roku. We're on iTunes, Tuned In, and our own app, Radio Pup.
Radio Pup from Town Square
Yes,
Media.
so-
If you have a smartphone, you can get Radio Pup on there. And
You could listen to us wherever you're at.
Yeah, that's right.
That'd be cool. Of course, we're
I could
broadcasting
get that right on my smartphone.
anywhere in the known universe.
And I actually use Radio Pup quite often, so
Yes.
that's a pretty cool app. We're also broadcasting on Meerkat today, so if you want to hop onto Meerkat, you can see what we look like in the studio, which might be kind of scary. I'm going to put it over to the pretty boy Brian now.
Listen.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good that you didn't shave today. So
I have facial hair, but no man bun.
Anyway, we're talking about this show's been all over the place today, everybody. But actually, it's kind of fun. We really have been. But
DNA.
We've just been talking. Yes. So let's talk about epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
Yes.
Epigenetics.
It's a fancy word for.
That is it's the most exciting thing in science right now.
Okay.
Because it's the idea. You've heard the idea. Thoughts become things. We
Right.
become
Right.
what we think about. The strangest things.
Right.
Yeah.
And goes back throughout history. Well, the idea of epigenetics, as I understand it, which may not be completely accurate, I have to disclaim that, but the way I understand this is that epigenetics is the idea that we can, through our thoughts, control what our DNA does.
That's not possible.
Said the wrong.
You mean if
brothers.
I'm born with a big nose, I can put my mind to it and make my nose, give myself a nose job?
Over time.
Over time, okay.
Yes. So, but the idea is something that we had a conversation about this at a meeting of a board of the American Cancer Society recently. We were talking about epigenetics and some of the things that they're doing in research at a level that I don't understand. But I
So they're actually taking this seriously.
Oh yeah.
Well, we know, for example, in a general sense, that stress causes you to release certain hormones that can do long-term damage.
I think the best example I have for it is that thoughts become physical manifestations, and
Right.
adrenaline is an example
Sure.
example
Yeah.
because it's the thought that there's a bear.
Yeah.
The
fight or flight.
The fight or flight. So that
evolution.
Pops some adrenaline, and that causes a change in your physiology.
Yeah.
Well, they also state that on the healing side of things too. If you're in a positive mental state, as opposed to being negative about it,
right,
you have a much better chance of healing. Whether it's a broken bone or if you're fighting cancer or whatever it is. There is something about that. There's no doubt about it.
Well, the end of the last segment, we closed with a comment about the Nobel Prize in 1906 going to the for germ theory.
Yeah,
the idea that prior to a couple of hundred years ago, the thought that germs cause disease were
when Louis Pasteur, everybody laughed at him.
Pasteur is one of the very first people that is recognized.
Yeah, there was that movie. I forget who the actor was. Back in the 40s, they made a movie about his life, and they talked about all that.
Yeah, just the idea of I can't think of the movie, but it was just the idea of washing one's hands.
Right.
When treating patients was something that.
Surgery. Yeah. I mean, it used to be if you're going to operate on the guy, cut him open and all that, you just walk in off the street in your street clothes.
That's right.
Go
to that.
Brush the dust off and go to work.
Look for a place with a barber pole.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, and you even look at the surgery that went on in our war fields back in the during the Civil War or whatever. You look at these reenactments, and they're using the same instrument from one person to the next, and you're like, they don't sanitize, they do nothing.
Yeah.
That's because they didn't even know of this stuff.
Oh, Ken Burns talked about that. They had it was like an assembly line if they were doing amputations.
Right.
They would just, hack a limb, next.
Right.
Hack a limb, next. It was, seriously.
Yeah.
But the idea, the epigenetics, the idea of changing your DNA doesn't necessarily mean that you would change your eye color, or you would change.
I'm not going to wake up one morning looking like George Clooney.
You look a little bit like George Clooney.
I do? Oh, okay. My wife will find that very interesting.
Yeah, 2%.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah, what do you mean by a little bit? But the idea that we, through our thoughts, we control our lives, and we control the energy that we expend and use in the creation of things, and the things that we've found that we work with at home and with others, like Reiki therapy, for example, using energy and through your hands to cure people.
Now, we're walking a fine line here because there is a lot of nonsense out there about this kind of stuff, a lot of new agey stuff that, frankly, just doesn't make any sense. But you're talking actual scientific, hardcore thinking, scientifically plausible stuff that can be done.
And it's and even at that, what one person understands and believes and sees as a possibility, others will say, that's just not possible. It's you could not. Someone that has never been on an airplane, if you talk about our grandfathers, 100 years ago, to describe Orville and Wilbur Wright's airplane.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing, but to imagine 10,000 of the things in the sky at any given time is something that 100 years ago. So maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but we are entering a phase of human evolution, which will include the ability to control what our bodies do through our DNA.
Very interesting. So are they able to test this right now? I mean, is there some scientific studies going on?
Yeah. I'm not familiar with studies. I'm not familiar with, but I would have to say yes.
Okay.
And you can look into it, and it's a pretty new science. DNA has been known for a long time, but it didn't become something that was well known until the 70s.
Sure.
And it's just fascinating to be involved with this.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting to see the world evolving as it is. and it's exhilarating to be part of making it happen.
Epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
Epigenetics. E-P-I-G-N.
Genetics.
E-P-I-C-S. Yeah, and you can look that up online, I'm betting.
Yeah.
So check that out. So very interesting.
Right along the lines of our topic, appreciation activates abundance. But that sounds like that could be another show.
It could be another show, yes. Interesting. So, any other final thoughts there, Mr. Reinbold?
Well, I think that in this area, it's an area that, as a business application, what I'm finding is that millennials tend to get this more than others.
Sure.
And so, as a business application, it's something that's where we're focusing our efforts.
All right. Mr. Reinbold, thanks for being on the show again.
Outstanding.
Jim,
Thanks
pleasure as always.
Likewise.
All right, everybody, have a great week.
See you on Thursday for
Pizza. Yeah.
In the jingle jangle morning, I'll come following you. Take me on a trip on your right.
You've been listening to The Tech Ranch, live and local on Super Talk 1270. Keep ahead of the trends. Tune in every Monday morning at 11 a.m. for The Tech Ranch. Exclusively here on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
ABC News, Super Talk 1270. Accurate news, stimulating talk. This is KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck.